It's another beautiful day right here, and it's so good to have you join us on the desk today. Today is a very wonderful day, and of course, so many things to talk about, but we want to look at a very special area of discussion today. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and this is the desk. As a matter of fact, we're looking at legislative matters today. At the legislative level, you know, the arms of the government that we have, the judiciary, the executive first, the judiciary and the legislature. So tonight we want to look at the legislative matters. Imagine issues. So many issues emerging from the senatorial level, and we will be looking at it today. Some persons don't even know what the function of a senator is. What some people know is that he's my brother. He has bought me something before. He's so close to me, I need to vote him in so that he will become a senator. Some persons will be complaining about emerging issues about a particular senator, while some other persons will be so comfortable with what a particular senator is doing. And we will be looking at that today on the desk. But then, how are you doing? How is the senator from your constituency? How is he faring? How are you faring? What about the constituency projects? Are they going on smoothly? Well, this has become a concern to so many Nigerians, and today we will be looking at that. I will have an expert join me to talk about these legislative matters, especially emerging issues at the senatorial level. We'll go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and my guest will be joining me as we talk about emerging issues at the senatorial level. I know you have so much in your mind, but then it's not all the time we complain about people. Sometimes I'm not disputing the fact that some senators are not working at all, and of course some are up and doing. But then, what about the recall? Is it possible to recall a senator? Is it possible to recall a House of Representative member? Is it possible to do all of that? We could also remember what happened in Kogi State, the Natasha issue, the recall process and everything. And at the end of the day, we all know how it ended. That recall didn't happen for certain reasons. Sometimes, some people would want to recall a senator for some reasons best known to them, while other people will be saying, no, this is who we want. But the question is this: is it possible to satisfy everybody at the constituents? But then the majority will need to know whether or not a particular senator is doing well. It is legislative matters on the desk, and after this break, my guest will join me as we look at emerging issues at the senatorial level. Stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back from that break. As a matter of fact, an expert will be joining me on the desk. This is the desk where we discuss issues. And today we want to look at emerging issues at the senatorial level. Is that big enough? I think it is. And of course, we may be looking at particular constituencies in Nigeria, as the case may be. But then, some people don't even know what the role of a senator is. Some persons think all that senators need to do is just come back, you travel to your constituency, and you just get maybe tricycle for the people, or maybe you get farm implements, or maybe you just give the youth a certain amount of money for them to keep body and soul together. It is far beyond that. But then, the truth is this is Nigeria. Some persons think, well, as a senator, it is time for them to get their own share of the cake. And for some, they feel, well, this is the time to give back to the constituency where they were voted from, where they came from, the people they are meant to represent. I've had some persons say things like, well, as it is, maybe the senator has an exclusive right to choose what to do and what not to do, and no one questions, no one asks questions. I can tell you for free that in some constituencies, people don't even ask questions, all right? The senators do whatever they want to do anytime they feel like doing it, all right? But then, is that the right thing to do? Of course, someone will be joining me, and he is going to open our eyes to so many things. And I will make sure there are practical examples from some places where we have people who are doing well, and this is for the people, all right? Whatever we discuss here is for the benefit of the people, so that we can be educated and we can be informed. Because one of the worst things that can happen to a people, Nigerians, is not to be informed. All right? Because if you don't have the necessary information, so many times you don't even know what to do. Especially when it gets to the legislative matters. All right, let's look at emerging issues. Right now, we have someone who is going to be joining us, and like I said, he's an expert. And of course, let me tell you who the person is. He is a political analyst to the core, and he is also a social commentator. Victor Egba is joining me via Zoom all the way from Lagos State as we look at legislative matters, concentrating on emerging issues at the senatorial level. It's good to have you join us on the desk this evening, Victor.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
All right. Let's quickly look at some emerging issues. But before then, it is obvious that some persons don't even know what the responsibilities of a senator is. Because what some people do is, all right, let me vote for him because he's from my mother's side, my father's side. I love his face and all of that. But then they don't know the responsibility of these senators, people at the chamber right there. So can you just give us a little education of what the roles of senators are before we get into dissecting the emerging issues?
Okay, very, very quickly. Thank you for having me. You see, generally, the functions of a Nigerian senator are established in the Nigerian Constitution. We have, amongst other functions, say in Section 88 and 89, we have the oversight functions. We have the functions of lawmaking, where they have to sit down and preside over bills, make laws that are relevant to the development of the Nigerian nation, and of course, make approvals for national budgets, and all of that. But in this instance, we'll look at the primary functions of legislators, which we understand is lawmaking. We also understand that oversight functions is there. But we also understand that a legislator provides a link between his people and the government. That is the closest representative you can have to Abuja. And I think that in this instance, we would like to look at not just the statutory functions of a legislator, we look at the role they play in the politics of the system, the role they play in bridging the gap between governance and the people, especially with regards to the constituency project, which is, informal though, but it provides a need where, because the government understands that, legislators too have a role to play in their constituencies. The legislature also provides oversight functions to MDAs, parastatals, agencies, and even contractors who are given opportunities to perform, duties or contracts that have been stated in the budget. So if a legislator has a particular, proposal before he has, contributed to the passing of the proposal, the budget, he also has a duty to ensure that this particular project, which is in my constituency, is carried out to the letter, because of course that's why the people send you there. So in our perception of what a legislator should do, we'll be looking at the holistic, duties and obligations, both formally and informally, that they have. Thank you.
We want to do a little appraiser, all right, of senators in Nigeria. Let's take an instance from your own senatorial district. I don't know, which of the senatorial district are you from?
Well, I'm from Central Senatorial District in Cross River State. Yes.
Okay,
I come
let's
from
do an
local government
appraiser.
area. One of the components local government area is in the Central Senatorial District is a Bubra local government. That's where I come from. But we have like 6 other local government area in my senatorial district. So yeah, we can look at that.
All right, let's do an appraisal, all right, of senators in Nigeria. And let's take, for instance, let's use your senatorial district, your constituency, all right, as an example. So can you give us an appraisal of the senator from your own constituency, as the case may be?
Well, the Senate, thank you very much. The senatorial seat in the Central Senatorial District is a very unique senatorial district, I must start with. We have once produced a Senate leader of the Nigerian Senate. Senator Victor Nweba came from the same senatorial district. We have Senator John Owanena from the same senatorial district. We have Senator Sandy Ono from the same senatorial district. In 1999 to 2003, we had Senator M. Timbu. So we are a senatorial district that have always produced one of Nigeria's finest senators. So the expectations of our people are very high. The people look forward to, who the senator becomes, even much more than who the governor is, because over time we've had senators who are able to represent us very well, represent our interests, our yearnings, and our aspirations. And even when we don't have so much of, government present, the senators bridge that gap. So Central Senatorial District right now under the current senator is a far cry from what we used to have. And that is why questions are beginning to arise. People are beginning to ask questions. Young persons like myself are beginning to say, no, what we have now is far below what we are used to. Right now, 2 years after the election of our present senator, we've not had any town hall meetings. He has not come back to ask us questions. The last time he came back was political, basically political. We've not had a proper meeting where the senator addresses the people on the progress so far. We don't even get to see him around. Occasionally he comes in and comes out for political reasons. And if you look at the general tempo in the Central Senatorial District, the people are not connected to him. There's a disconnect between what the people want, what is going on in the Senatorial District, and who is representing us. There's a growing discontent, and we're beginning to ask questions. So generally, right now in the Central Senatorial District, the dividends of democracy is not getting to our people. And that is why we cannot adjudge the present occupant of that seat to have performed well. And I think that is why the conversations are beginning to emerge. People are beginning to ask questions because of the flowing and the growing consciousness, political consciousness. Our people no longer wait until election periods for them to be spoon-fed with, political propaganda and the rest. We are beginning to ask questions. And as a young person, and a youth advocate, I'm also asking questions. Senator, you have done 2 years already. I'm going to 3 years now. What is your scorecard? You don't just come and talk politics with us. What is your scorecard? What is the implementation of the budget for Cross River Central from the National Assembly? How are you following that up? What is happening with youth employment? There are no employment opportunities. We know that your job is not to give employment, but of course, we understand that you can be able to, create opportunities for the people. Every senatorial seat provides have provision for constituency allowance. The senator just goes quiet on us right now. It's totally quiet on us right now. We have our young people who cannot get jobs, who are not getting opportunities. There are no developmental programs that are going on. There are no special interventions that are going on. The development level in my senatorial district is very poor. There are communities that are still cut off from the grid. They don't have electricity, they don't have bridges, and we are an agrarian area. So we produce a lot of cocoa, cassava, and the rest. But we are still cut off from the grid. We are not saying that the senator is expected to perform all of these duties. We are saying that these things are happening in Abuja. There are MDAs, there are parastatals, there are budgets that you are privy to by virtue of your being in Abuja. You should be able to make sure that the needs of your people are prioritized in the national budget. And if you cannot get these things done, there's no need why we send you there, because you're supposed to speak for the people. And if 2 years or going to 3 years after there's no physical tangibles to show, it means you probably don't know your way around. And there's a need for us to do an appraisal and a replacement, possibly in the future. But right now, to be very honest with you, the performance we have, below standard. There's no relationship with the masses. There's no connect with the masses. The masses are trying to protect the political system, trying to protect the political status quo. But we need to move past pure politics. Politics must be occasional with development. And where the dividends of democracy is not coming to the people have a right to ask questions. And that is why, by virtue of having me here, I'm asking the senator, what have you done? And nothing. If you want to come, I was at home a few weeks ago. I traveled through the senatorial district and I saw things for myself. And I tell you, the tempo is very low. People are dissatisfied. There's a lot of disenchantment with the leadership of the party, because the senator is not performing right. The National Assembly is supposed to be a representation of what the people want. Our needs are not reflected. And I think that so far, at this moment, is below bound. Thank you.
Other senators in other constituencies in Nigeria as a whole, are they doing better than what your own senator is doing? Because there is this belief that some people believe that the moment some senators get there, it is all about them. But then, from these things you've said, do you think other senators are doing better than your senator?
Well, I would not want to, draw a comparison per se between other senators and my senator. Like I said, we come from a senatorial district where we have always had excellence. The penchant for excellence has always been there. We've had credible leadership. Our people are used to leadership leadership that answer to their yearnings and their aspirations. So comparatively, what we have is a comparison between what we have now and what we used to have. And what we have now is below the bar. It is not what we are used to. Of course, we have other senatorial districts. We have Southern senatorial district and Northern senatorial district of Cross River State. I don't want to go into the details of their representation, but I think for we in the Central senatorial district, he has not done well. We are not faring well. Even if you check in terms of the budget allocation for the senatorial district constituency projects, projects that were outlined in each constituency, we got the list. We got far lesser than other senatorial district got in Central Senatorial in Cross River State. Central Senatorial District Cross River State had the lowest. It is a complete show of the capacity, the ability of who we have representing us. Because what is the most conclusive show of capacity is what you can do for your people per time. And I think in this instance, if we look at the specifics, the level of projects that are going on in the Central Senatorial District, national project and interventions, below standard, the level of provision of job opportunities below standard. This used to be Central Senatorial District. So I would want to say, even if I don't want to compare holistically with other senatorial districts across Nigeria, but even in Cross River State right now, we are performing below standard. And I think that there's a need for us to review that. Thank you. Sorry.
Can you hear me, Victor?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. What I'm saying is there any plan? Because sometimes, I don't know, but then, you know how it is in Abuja. Some people get to Abuja and they forget their constituency. But then, not all the senators. Is there anything, any plan to draw his attention to the fact that his people are dissatisfied? Is he aware?
Yeah, I think that the senator is very aware of the growing discontentment between the people are having already. He's very, very aware, because if you check, you won't believe that 2 years after, the senator has suddenly appointed liaison officers across the 6 senatorial district and the 6 local government area. 2 years after, that is after complete abandonment of of the people. Just after elections, they relocated to Abuja and they forgot the people 2 years after. That shows that he's beginning to get the feelers from the field that people are very, very discontented with him. 2 years after, he's suddenly appointing an essays. 2 years after, he's suddenly coming around to see the people in a quick fix mechanism. 2 years after, he's suddenly appearing to pay hospital bills. That is not what the senator should do. A senator should constantly build a rapport with the people so he doesn't have a disconnect. So I think that if it's a question of whether or not he's aware of the growing discontent, he's very aware. Because if you check, the conversations these days have improved from his end. The conversation is no longer about performance. The conversation is about him seeking a second term. That is how skilled our politics have become. When you ask questions, when you ask our leaders questions, they begin to think of their next election, their next survivor. They are beginning to sponsor media propagandas and campaigns and say, no, we should allow him complete a second term. We are not asking you questions because of your electoral fortunes. We are asking you questions for what we have given to you. What have you done for us? The people are beginning to ask questions. Independent minds are beginning to ask questions. Cross-Riverians and people from Central Senatorial District across the world are a very enlightened group of people. And they are beginning to ask questions. And I think the senator is very aware of what is coming. Because in Central Senatorial District, the people are very decisive. And we don't work with the politics of we appreciate the status quo, we support the system, we appreciate the political culture that we have, but we also understand that power is not permanent. Power is not given to you to entertain yourself. Power is given to you to deliver. And without that to even mention, there is a growing cultural awakening, political cultural awakening. The people are beginning to judge the occupants of seats by their performance index. And I think that, and I know that from the feelers I've got from my travel and my interaction and as a member of the constituency, and from what I can see, the senator is very aware that we are dissatisfied with the level of representation we've gotten. And I think that we will make a decisive decision when the time comes. Another pointer to the fact that there's a growing discontent. Because of the lacuna that has existed in terms of leadership in the senatorial district, some very special thing is happening. A present commissioner in the Cross River State government from Central Senatorial District has been trying to fill the gaps, the lacuna that has been created. And in his doing so, he has, I think I can witness a couple of his interventions, scholarships here and there, special project like a bridge in a community I know of, you know, undergraduate scholarships, and even I heard recently, yeah, of a health insurance program for over 1,500 people from the central senatorial district. That is massive, because when you go to our senatorial district, you know, access to healthcare is a very difficult thing. And because of the culture, the agrarian culture, the people need a lot of healthcare. This young commissioner has provided 1,500 constituents health insurance with the constituency health insurance scheme, and they have been operated upon. Some have been life-saving surgeries have occurred because of these interventions. Supporters of the present occupant of the seat are beginning to talk 2027 when we are talking about performance index, because there's a lacuna that you have created. Somebody is coming to fill the lacuna, and you are even saying that this is about an election. You're not seeing the fact that this is about the fact that you created a leadership vacuum. This is not all about an election. Our people are suffering. Some other person is stepping in to fill the gap, because that's what public servants do, and you're making the issue about an election. I think because the senator is not making it about an election, he is very aware that there's a discontent, and he cannot claim not to know that the people will make a decision that will be, determinant of their future.
All right,
and I think the most vulnerable thing for him to do in 2027 is to step away.
All right. Okay, Victor, you made a very valid point. You said something about the fact that there is a preparation or maybe some political undertone as against next term, all right, another next tenure. Now, let's look at politics in Nigeria generally and governance. This is this is how it happens. There is this belief that as a politician is coming to the office, the very first day they get into the office, they start thinking about the next election. And one very amazing thing that happens in this part of the world is the fact that you hear people complain about a particular, I'm not just talking about senators alone now, talk about House of Assembly members, even at the presidency, at the presidential level and all that, a House of Representatives. You hear people complain about sitting officers. But then, during election, you still see the same people emerging again. How comes the people still vote people like that into office? And what do you think the people can do to make sure people who are not representing the interests of Nigerians not to get elective positions anymore, especially after their first tenure?
Okay, fine. That's a very beautiful question. You see, I believe that our politics is evolving. And as it is evolving, our political culture is also going to adapt to the prevailing information that the people have. Information is very critical for us to be able to get people to choose leaders that are right. I do not want to believe that people who are not performing will always emerge. That also boils down to the fact that we need to improve our internal party dynamics. Our internal democracy has to improve. The party must have the ability to appraise its performance and the performance of those who fly their tickets, and also reflect on the tempo of the people and the masses that they represent. If the party has a candidate that is disconnected from his people, that is not performing, the party owes it to its political fortunes not to fire that particular candidate. And I think we need to be able to grow stronger as a system, as a political system, more than the players of the system. Our internal democracy has to be strengthened. The situation where the party is loyal to, the players, the political actors, so much so that they say, okay, you have automatic tickets as a National Assembly members, because that's what they always do. They ask for automatic tickets, irrespective of the performance index. I think the party also has a role to play. The party must look at the fact that, this is our manifesto. This is what we expected you to do. How was your outing? Is it good enough? If it's not good enough, we review your candidacy. And also, the party must take into consideration what are the people saying, who is popular, who is on ground, where can we win elections. So we must not always prioritize people who are in the system, who use the resources that are available to them by virtue of the election that the people elected them, to begin to bamboozle the system into giving them tickets anymore. I think because our political system is so limited, when these things happen, the people are subjected into a Hobson's choice. It is either here or here. And I think that internal democracy will improve that. Secondly, too, we must be careful because the people are becoming very, very independent minded. The era where you can just find anybody as a candidate and expect them to win is far gone. The people who choose candidates for what they have done and how they perceive them and what they can see. Political propaganda, party machinery, all of these things are becoming secondary to what the judgment of the people. And political parties also needs to begin to respect the will of the people. If this happens, we'll have a balance. And the people too, at the long run, I might want to speak because I believe in the democratic system and the political system. And I want to also say that in the long run, if we file candidates consistently that do not represent the yearnings of the people, and because they don't have a choice, because of the political party machinery, they go ahead to choose between either A or B, people who they do not perceive as capable to represent them, it will bring apathy. People become disenchanted with the whole political system, and if this continues over time, it might snowball into some words we don't need to mention because we believe in democracy. And so democratic players must understand that at the end of the day, the voice of the people should supersede. So we don't get to a point where people begin to endure leadership that is not representing them. I think I'll stop there for now.
All right. Thank you, Victor. It's all about legislative matters and emerging issues, all right, at the senatorial level. But then we're talking about governance here and how people emerge, how they even get into these offices. You've spoken well. But now let's talk about the level of education. Like what you said now is very important. But then, what is the level of education? Because most times, the same people, all right, at the constituency, at the local government council, at the state are being used as apparatus by these people in authority to wangle their ways into offices. What is the level of education and sensitization, especially for our youths, as it has to do with their electoral power, as electorates?
That's very beautiful because information and education is one of the things that helps a man build a defense against the system that he has found himself in. And a lot of our people practice what I would like to call indirect political followership. What do I mean by that? We identify a particular political leader in my ward, in my local government area, or by virtue of their position and their status, we begin to follow them for who they are, what they represent, and the favors they can give to us, and possibly the opportunities they can provide for us in the system and of the system. And because of the poverty and the economic situation, we begin to trust them with the ability to make decisions for us because they are able to play at the higher level. And because of this system, this indirect system of followership, where we follow someone who follows somebody, by the time they go up there and they take a decision, they begin to tailor us to follow that decision, irrespective of the fact that that decision might not represent the best interest for all of us. So when when the people become educated on the fact that this is an electoral system, if I hold my votes and I choose based on my conscience and the available information before me, I can make the right decision. And if I go to the polls and I vote, my vote will count. It is a confidence in the electoral system that will determine the next election. But right now, what we have is a constant bamboozle of the system. Political actors who are beneficiaries of the present system do everything possible to preserve the status quo, including empowering other young people to distort the facts and distort the system. As a matter of fact, I am here on TV. Thank you for having me, trying to create an awareness that we are not having the best. You will be surprised that there are people who come out to say that this is the best representation they've had so far. And it is politically sponsored and motivated. They will not look at the facts. Most of them are presently very unemployed. Most of them, they don't even have any interaction and conversation with the senator. Most of them don't even know the performance index of the constituency projects. Because of this indirect system of followership, they follow a boss, and the boss, because of his relationship with the benefactors, takes a position and say, let's preserve status quo. They follow. So what we can do is what we are doing right now. When young people like us are able to ask critical questions, what have you done? What is your scorecard? Why is this not about what you are going to do and what you're doing? Why is this about how you need a second term, how you need to be re-elected? Why can't we leave electioneering and focus on dividends of democracy per time? So what we are doing as young people, myself and other young people that agree with me, is asking questions and telling the other young people, come, let's put ourselves together and ask questions. The future of our senatorial district, the future of our state belongs to us. And the people who are representing us are answerable to us. We are the people, and we should ask questions and ask them to answer these questions. If they cannot provide us satisfactory answers, we should take our decisions to the ballots. So I think that mass education, like we are embarking on, like the opportunity and the platform we provide, helps to encourage the people to know what is going on. Beyond that, we must keep the conversation going in our little corners, in our homes, in our houses, in our churches, in our streets, on the bus. The people are asking questions. And every time we have an opportunity, we must share the fact and the truth. And we must not color it with politics. We must not limit the truth and the fact because we are a beneficiary of the system. And that is why a group of young people like myself are separating ourselves from the prevailing political, dynamics and culture, where they say of favoritism, of prebendalism, of being tailoring towards the status quo and the establishment simply because we benefit from it. We want better for our people. And as we continue to ask these questions, as we continue to talk to our other young people and appeal to our statesmen, they will be able to make the right decisions that will affect our destinies and that of our children yet unborn. I think it is not a conclusive process. We'll keep on it, we'll stay on it, we'll inform others, we'll talk about it, we'll ask questions, and until we get these answers, we will not stop asking questions. Eventually, our system will improve. Thank you.
All right, Victor, there are so many things to talk about because the issue of emerging controversies and issues, and of course the behavior, and of course the relationship between the senators and the people at the constituency, it's not something we can finish in just a day. We hope to have you again on this platform so that we can educate the people more, because a lot happening right now at the constituency. We just heard from your own constituency. We don't know what's happening at other constituencies. Thank you very much for joining us, Victor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just one last word. I believe that the politics of the Cross River Central Senatorial District is evolving. Things are changing. This is not the first time where we have senators come and do a term and leave. All right. And no senator should come and feel like they're entitled to a re-election without performance.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Victor. Well,
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. That's well spoken. We hope to have you some other time again, Victor. And as a matter of fact, I'll make our time so that we can talk more. All right, this is going to be where we're going to be leaving Victor. But you've heard, these are the kind of things that happens in Nigeria. Some persons have the voice to speak out. Some other persons can't even speak out. The reigning thing now is the fact that there is defection everywhere. You see people defecting from one political party to the other. Let me give you an instance. I could remember a state in Nigeria where a particular governorship candidate didn't make it in a particular party, and he cross-carpeted to another party, and today, no, not this administration, in that administration, he actually made it, and he was the governor of that state for 8 years. That's what we're talking about. Sometimes you see people defecting from one party to the other if they discover that the people in that party are no longer supportive of what they do. But then I think it's high time we all wake up. Let's know that it's very important for people to be governed. The time that is meant for governance should not be used for politicking. Most of that 2027 is around the corner. You can hear of defection. This person has defected from this party. This person has defected from that other party, coalition, and so many other things. What happened this day is personal interest for some persons, not all political office holders, but for some, it is all about them. By the time they get up there, they don't think about the people who even voted them into office anymore. That's what it means. Have you ever walked to the office of a governor or maybe a House of Representative member or a senator, and you greet the person in your own dialect, the same dialect they use during campaign, and they will reply you with English as if they don't understand that dialect anymore? But then when it comes to election, people will say, oh, he's from my tribe, he's from my religion, he's from my constituency. Let's vote based on capacity and not based on sentiment. Look at where we are in Nigeria today, all right? Look at where we are aiming to be. Look at the economic situation. Look at what people are going through. How do we salvage this situation? Some constituencies today, you go there, you don't see roads. You see people unemployed. Yet, there are supposed to be constituency projects. There are monies budgeted for these projects, but where does it go to? Those are the questions Nigerians are asking. Okay? And if you don't ask questions until tomorrow, no one will answer you except a question is being asked. Any question that is not asked does not have the right to an answer except a question is asked. Nobody will answer it. So it is high time we begin to ask questions. What you don't know, you ask about it. If not until we heard about the recall of Natasha at the Kogi Central. A lot of people don't even know that there's anything like recalling a senator. A lot of people don't know, even though the process didn't scale through for some reasons. That's just to let you know that if the people are not satisfied with the performance of a senator or a House of Representative member, they can always do a recall. But I'm not talking about a sentimental recall here, because if it is sentimental, it's not going to work, because a lot of signatories require the process is not a small one at all. So if it is out of sentiment or political undertone, it's not going to work. All right? I'm not saying that of Kogi State didn't work because of that, but for reasons best known to the authorities and INEC especially. But what I'm trying to say is that for you to recall anyone, it should not be because that person is not from your party, or probably the person didn't say yes to some of your, should I say, demands that are not in accordance, or maybe because there is a particular godfather somewhere that is not satisfied with a particular office holder, then they want to recall the person or they want to bring the person back. No, but you have the right not to vote for these persons again. If they come around you, what they do, you can see what is happening right now. Politicking everywhere. You see defection everywhere. You see people doing things they were not doing before because they feel 2027 is around the corner and they want to come back to the office. They want to come back to the Senate. Some want to come back to the House of Representatives. Some want to be governors again. The truth is this, by the time they get there, some politicians don't ever want to live there anymore. So by the time they want to stay there, only God knows when. Maybe 8 years. Some even is possible. Some may even want to exceed 8 years. I'm telling you the truth. But then we should know that we have the right to vote and be voted for as Nigerians. Let's don't abuse our rights of voting. Make sure when it's time for you to vote, you vote for capacity. Vote for someone who is accountable, someone you can hold accountable, all right? Someone who is going to have a yearning for your aspirations. That's what it means. Well, on the desk today, we've been able to dissect legislative matters. We've been able to look into legislative matters. But then time wasn't enough. We may be visiting this again. Today, it was emerging issues at the legislative level. What about other levels? What about other positions? Look at all of that. But that of the senatorial level, we may still look at it again because time wasn't really enough for us today. But then it's so good that you All right, there. Thank you for joining us on the desk today. The desk will come on your way again, and that's going to be on Friday, the same time, 5 p.m. We hit the road running to bring different perspective to different happenings in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. We make sure you are informed and educated. Thank you very much for joining us once again. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Bye-bye for now and have a beautiful evening.